Welcome here to a very special edition of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we jump into the AAC. Simply call it DT on the AAC, a lot of letters, but Dan Tortora on the American Athletic Conference. We're here with the commissioner of the conference, and that is Mr. Mike Aresco. And Mike, we're going to jump right into it. I mean, this has been an eventful last few months here as you bring 6 schools in, 3 go out. The conversation continues. So our conversation, as always, continues. How are you?
Great to be with you, Dan, as usual. Yeah, it's been. You didn't mention SMU either. You know, they're heading out, and that was a bit of a surprise, clearly. So it's just nothing but turmoil these days in college sports, as you see it everywhere. Pac-12 is a conference disappearing after this year. The ACC taking Stanford and Cal, going 4,000 miles to play sports. It's the most unusual time that I've seen in the time I've been involved in college sports, and a lot of it isn't really good, to be honest with you. But you just have to adapt, and can't take these things personally. You just have to do what's best for your conference. But it's getting awfully tough to see the collegiality anymore, no pun intended.
Yeah, no, and I definitely understand where you're coming from. And I do want to get into some of these moves. And like you said, SMU, there's confusion in kind of the why, right, for them to move. Seems like their name was brought up in so many different instances with if the Pac-12 could survive, SMU's name came up. They came up with the Big 12. They've come up with all different conferences. They end up going to the ACC. They're the only Texas school in the ACC. They're not on the Atlantic coast, of course, as we know that geography and a lot of different conferences doesn't matter anymore. How do you look at their exit, knowing that they were a part of the American and getting a piece of the pie, and now they're going to a conference where they've accepted to not take money, to not take revenue for almost a decade to be a part of it? It's confusing from the outside looking in why you would leave a conference that is giving to you, not just taking from you, to go to a conference which will be taking, but not sharing any revenue with SMU for a long time.
Yes, Dan, it's strictly the P5 business, the P5 branding and the P5 designation, supposedly, the highest level nonsense. As you know, we play at the highest level, but that's what we're dealing with. And look, you can understand they're looking at, okay, you can get Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Duke coming in basketball, North Carolina. I mean, there's some advantages for them in that regard. And I get that. I understand that. And the desperation to be in a P5 is such that you have Cal Stanford going literally across the country for all their games, right? And so that one would have made no sense several years ago in the history of college sports, right? Geography no longer means much. And if you got the money, if it did mean something to us. We didn't think Washington State and Oregon State made sense. We don't have the resources to be sending our kids on 22-hour commercial flights to play, volleyball, baseball, softball, soccer, other sports, as well as basketball. Football's not as big a problem, as you know, but that's still a difficult thing. And this is not going to necessarily work out great for all the kids with all this travel. As far as SMU is concerned, I have no hard feelings at all. They've been a great partner. Gerald Turner has been absolutely spectacular as president, a close friend. As I said, don't take these things personally. Fully understand why they wanted to do it. Same thing with Rick Hart, has been great as their AD. And I wish them nothing but the best. The donors there are trying to make up for a lot of this, and they're also going to get CFP money. They're going to get, I think, some units, and so they'll get some revenue from the ACC. But we didn't want to lose them. Obviously, we're down here in Dallas. They're our hometown team right now, and I enjoyed going over there. I've enjoyed the relationship, but this is college sports, and you just cannot cannot take it personally, and you got to move on. You got to make sure your own conference is as strong as it can possibly be. What I don't like right now is, there's with this consolidation at the top, it's starting to hollow out some conferences like ours, where we've lost, 4 teams. We've replaced them. We've got 6 excellent teams. I'm really confident that those teams are going to do well in our conference, but it's it's change. It's change. And you just have to adapt to change.
Yeah, and when we see this change happening the way it is, like you said, SMU, I mean, you moved your headquarters during COVID to Irving, Texas. SMU is right there in Dallas. When you just had the American Athletic Conference Media Days, they're in the backyard of SMU. So just to speak to, I mean, 9 years taking no revenue distribution, they've had donors step up, as you had spoken about, but what was the conversation like with SMU? Was it just, hey, we value ourselves a lot higher than the distribution we're getting in the American? I know you said it's the P5 business, but it just seems like a tough place to put yourself in, to kind of have to pay your way in and rely on donors when, as far as I saw it, SMU had an opportunity in this conference, including with the loss of Houston and UCF and Cincinnati, to compete in multiple sports and to have an opportunity to win championships. It just seems strange that SMU would leave at a time where it seems like they maybe could have their biggest years yet in the American Athletic.
Well, there's no question about that, but the problem again is this destructive P5 G5 divide. I've talked about it. I've written about it. It often falls on deaf ears, but the point is it just, unfortunately, it's a real issue. And you saw it with Stanford Cal. Everybody said they have no home. They have nowhere to go. They had a place to go. They could have come here. They could have gone to the Mountain West, but no, they had to be in a P5, right? They had to have this P5 designation. And it's created a caste system that's very unhealthy for college sports. On the other hand, there are reasons why SMU would want to go to the ACC. I mentioned some of them. And also, they will be getting some revenue from the ACC, and they obviously their donors have stepped up, and that just shows you again what the lure is. Now, in our conference, they could be very successful. They developed their football program, their basketball program had a great heyday, and it could come back. Got a good coach now. They did have a good coach before, but the point is, maybe the program was getting a little stale. They're rejuvenating there, so. We really liked SMU. We hate to see them leave, but again, the lure of a P5 conference is such right now that's there isn't a team that wouldn't go. I mean, there might be some that don't feel it makes sense for them, but very few. And so that's what you have to put up with. And unfortunately, you can't control it. And we're sort of at the mercy of it. The one thing I would say is that we're a victim of our own success. I mean, we're a victim of the fact that we had successful teams that went to the Big 12. SMU has built their football program over the last 4 or 5 years to the point where they were attractive to the ACC for a bunch of reasons. Obviously, some of them unrelated to how they do on the field. Texas is a market that everybody looks at. Dallas is a big market. The ACC network would come into Dallas potentially. There's some other reasons why they did it. Obviously there were financial reasons. If SMU is going to forego that revenue is going to go to the conference. They were looking to generate revenue. That conference, I'm not getting into. I never get into other conferences' businesses, but it's an interesting situation there. And so SMU goes, and we'll figure out what to do going down. As we go down the road. But it's just the nature of college sports right now, and it's what it is. If you want to be in it, you have to deal with this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Head out to GG Cards and Breaks 7 days a week on 639 Delmar Place right off of Teal Ave in Syracuse, New York. Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So definitely make sure you get your way out to GG Cards and Breaks for singles as well as graded cards to submit your cards to be graded. The great thing about Josh Gideon and the owner there is that he'll take the time to go through your cards, let you know which ones he believes could get a good grade, which grades they could get, and which ones he would suggest that you send in. So I appreciate that he takes the time and attention to detail, and that the entire staff takes the time and attention to detail when it comes to good and quality guest service. So big time shout out to Anthony and Alex and Joel and the entire team there, led by Josh Gideon at GG Cards and Breaks. So for packs, for graded cards, for singles, as well as for boxes, and the only place that I know that has an entire wall of every Major League Baseball, every NFL, and every NBA team. So whoever you're a fan of in Central and Upstate New York, or if you're traveling into town, you can be a Phillies fan, a Cowboys fan, and a Celtics fan, and find everything you need at GG Cards and Breaks. So make sure you head out there today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. They also have some Disney Lorcana while their allotment lasts, because Disney's Lorcana has been hard to find anywhere and everywhere. So while supplies last for Disney Lorcana, they have some of that. They also have Pokemon as well. So get out to GG Cards and Breaks today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you, and either start your hobby or continue the hobby that you love at GG Cards and Breaks, the place for all of us when it comes to the emotion, the excitement, the connection to the sports, the teams, and the players we love, and the opportunity of rolling the dice, opening a pack or a box, never knowing what you're going to get. GG Cards and Breaks, the place to go for that same hobby and creating new memories with that hobby. So make sure you get out there today. Coming from the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Mike Aresco. Mike, how much did you truly look into who was left in the Pac-12 when there was the pulling of USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington to the Big Ten, and then Colorado, Utah, as well as Arizona and Arizona State to the Big 12? When we saw the Pac-4 of Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State, did the American Athletic Conference take a deep, hard look at it? Like you said, Cal and Stanford could have come here. They chose to go somewhere else. What was the process like? How deep was the process? And was there a possibility of any of those schools coming to the American?
Well, I suppose there was a possibility, Dan. We basically kicked the tires, those schools reached out to us, some of them, not all four, but some reached out to us. And I had some conversations with Cal and Stanford, knowing that they were going to do anything they could to try to get in initially the Big Ten. Obviously, that would have been their preference. And ultimately, they got into the ACC. Had they not, then I don't know what they would have done. Would they have tried to resuscitate the Pac-12? It's not the Pac-12 anymore. Obviously, it never will be. But the point, would they have done that? Would they have potentially looked at us? We have 3 AAU schools. We have, the geography is manageable. The issue for the other two, Washington State, Oregon State, was, again, they are, they're in a more remote area. It's harder to get to. We looked at the travel requirements. We looked at the fact that we don't have the ability to do all that chartering that you would normally do. Those West Coast teams may be able to do a lot of that because of the money they're getting. We're not in that situation, and those schools would not have been in that situation. So we decided it just did not make sense. They're attractive schools. We like them. They're competitive. You know, but this is not unprecedented in their situation. They keep saying this is unprecedented. It's not unprecedented. Obviously, you had 4 schools left out when the Big 12 was created, right? 4 schools in the Southwest Conference that didn't have a home. And then you had a number of our schools, when we were thrown out of the BCS, we had 5 schools that were still had been BCS schools. And, they say, well, look at how they're doing on the field. Well, we've had teams in the top 10 for how many years? And, it comes and goes, some of those teams, one of those teams was 3-21 a few years ago. We've had teams that have had ups and downs, but we've had a top 10 team every single year. That didn't make us an autonomy conference. We'd like to be one. We think we should be one, but I think in part, everybody just has to kind of step back and accept reality and deal with it. And that's what we've done. That's what our teams have done. And we have a good league. We've had a very good league for a long time. We provide a good home for our teams. If they want to leave, this is a voluntary organization, Dan. They can leave. They can pay their exit fee. They can move on. And we wish them well when they do. It's not easy personally. Nobody likes it. If you have a member of the family suddenly leaving and saying, I've got a better deal somewhere else, nobody feels great about that. But you also recognize that they've been friends. You understand why they're doing it. You might do it in the same situation. And so therefore, you just have to be civil about it and then move on. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, you talk about that being civil and moving on. You've had to navigate through this a lot. What can you say from everything that you've learned? Because the American Athletic Conference was born out of realignment. It has consistently lived despite realignment. It has never given up with everything going on with realignment. So what can you say that you've learned as a commissioner and as a leader in collegiate athletics from realignment, having literally from relatively soon after the moment you stepped into the conference, having to deal with it and deal with it again and continuously deal with it over the years? I don't know if anybody is more seasoned in realignment than you, and maybe a conference like Conference USA out there. What can you say to realignment, having really not known a world without it in the American Athletic?
Well, yeah, that's a very good point. I got thrown into something that I didn't necessarily expect. It looked like maybe realignment had cooled down when I joined the Big East, and it hadn't, obviously. I think the point is you make the best of a situation and you try to create opportunities for schools that were maybe left out or didn't have a place to go, and we created something pretty unique and pretty special here in the American, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of what the school's accomplished, and it's worked out for them and for the conference. But what you also have to then understand is there's going to be continual change because of the nature of this business. There's a pecking order of conferences, and you have to understand that it can be a very, I guess you could call it a Darwinian predatory situation, where people just go after, in their own self-interest, the teams that they're going to enhance their TV deal and whatever. And if you're not necessarily, we don't have the revenue that the 5, now it's going to be 4, have, and we understand that, and that's a disadvantage. On the other hand, we have revenue that allows our teams to compete. I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to compete, and that was the goal, Dan. That was my job. I dealt with all the top brands at ESPN and CBS for many, many years. I programmed SEC football to Pinnacle. I knew all the great teams, and this was a change because I'm dealing now with teams that are going to try to make an impact. Some of them are upstarts. Some of them have started their programs recently. Others have a long tradition, but don't have the kind of marquee value. And I was proud to represent them and to see what they could accomplish. And I knew that they could do more than they thought that maybe anyone thought they could. They thought they could, but I don't think necessarily the media did. And look what we did. The problem now, Dan, is that it's going to get tougher. This year in residency is it's a real issue. You get too many kids that are plucked. You develop them, you work hard, you find the talent, you develop these kids, and then they can just leave. And also, the NIL money makes it a perfect storm. So it's going to be harder for us to compete. We're going to have to figure out ways to do so in a new environment, which is not easy. And we'll do it, but it's just going to it's a different challenge than it was 10 years ago. and you can't argue with our success. I don't think the media has ever fully appreciated what this conference did. You could do a 30 by 30 on this league. 8 out of 10 New Year's Day, when you're competing with 60 other schools that could easily trump you on that. And then you also have a situation where with limited resources, we did what we did. We played the best teams and won. We won 4 of the 8 New Year's games against top 10 teams. We never played a team that wasn't in the top 10 or the top 5, and we could have won 5. As you know, Cincinnati should have beaten Georgia a few years ago. So a remarkable record. And every game we played was competitive. When Memphis lost to Penn State, they played them almost to a draw. The same thing with UCF and LSU, even without Mackenzie Milton. And then, of course, the playoff game where Cincinnati gave a good account of itself. That alone was almost a miracle, Dan. Think about it.
Yeah.
A team from our group, our conference, making the playoff. I mean, think about what that entailed. Now, could that team have held together in this environment with all this NIL money thrown around and all, no year in residency? I don't know. But the fact that we did, we created something special. We created a lot of excitement in college sports. We're still going to do it. We're going to continue to do it. It's going to take a different approach. But I think that's something to be applauded, to be celebrated. And I just don't think that it's ever been fully appreciated what these schools did and how well they competed. And now, some have moved on and they'll do fine where they're going. But that's the world we live in. It's if you choose to be in this business, you just have to deal with it. And by the way, it's now affected the P5, the so-called P4 now. They didn't worry about teams leaving necessarily over the last decade. And now all of a sudden you have Texas, Oklahoma go, you have USC, UCLA go, you have Oregon, Washington go, you have all this turmoil in the ACC, right? You had a situation where if certain Big 12 teams got an invitation to the SEC or the Big 10, would they go? I mean, those two conferences are the behemoths right now. They have the most money, they have the most prestige. So it's affected even the P5 in a way that affected us. The one thing about my job has been an interesting situation. It's a dynamic I had not experienced in my years at ESPN, which was growing and an attractive place for people to be. And same thing with CBS. I never was in a situation where so many schools, or so many entities wanted to leave because they saw greener pastures, and yet what we've maintained camaraderie, we've maintained, cohesion in the conference despite that. And I think that's really important because these schools have great kids, great athletes, and they need to have a good experience. They need to have a good, a forum. They need to have a good platform to play on. And that's what we've tried to accomplish, and so we'll continue to fight. We'll continue to, be competitive. And our goal is if you're in our conference, it's the old saying, your conference, the one you're in is the best one, and you do the best you can.
Yeah. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Yeah, and Mike, before I let you go here, like you said, you do the best that you can within the conference that you have. Army has been brought up a lot. I brought it up when realignment was happening a few years back when you were looking at teams to bring in. I had said to you on and off the air, we had the discussion, probably off the air more so, of you have Navy. They spent over 100 years independent. You found a way to get them. So why not bring in Army and have that Army Navy within the conference match up all the time in that really special way and have it be a part of the American? Where are we in realignment? Are there any other institutions that you're looking at? And what can you tell us about Army at this point?
Well, it's been public that, we are talking to Army and Army, we and Army both understand that we're not hiding anything. We're not hiding the fact that we're talking, and it's comfortable in the sense that they're an independent. If they were a member of a conference and they were interested in us, we would really try to keep that under the radar, right? But the point is, we're interested in them. I think they've shown interest. They're great. I mean, you can't argue. The military academies are wonderful. And so if they ultimately want to join, great. There are a lot of reasons, I think, to join a conference these days. We'll continue to have those discussions. I don't know where it's going to go. We're not looking at anyone else at this point. We really have not. looked at anyone else. There are a few other schools that would add some brand value to our conference. Not very many though, these days, because, our goal is not to get bigger just for the sake of being bigger. And we could even, if we contracted to 12 for whatever reason, we're not planning to do that. There's no reason if somebody else left and decided to just stay at 12, for example. 13 is not a good number. You have to have buys in November in football. That's not a great situation. I don't think an odd number works well, but we could do that too if we had to. But if let's say you were somehow at 12, you don't necessarily need to expand. We've got a great core of schools, and we've added 6 new schools. We think that they're going to do very well in this conference. They'll get their footing. In the end, though, our goal is to be at 14 where we were. I think ultimately Army, provides a terrific, a terrific institution. If in fact they're interested, and they, I think they are. We'll see. It should play out in the next, several weeks. And pretty much all I can say right now, Dan. There's some things you'd have to work out, and but at least there's mutual interest, whatever happens. And we just think the world of the military academies, and I dealt with Army, with Army Navy for many years, so I know West Point, and I had great relationships and friendships there. I went to Hawaii with them. They invited me to go in 2003 when they played Hawaii, and it was a wonderful trip. And again, having two institutions, 2 military institutions, the foremost in the country in your league is pretty nice. We'll see if that happens. I don't know if it will, and we're not going out of our way to talk about it when we're asked. We mentioned that the discussions are happening, but we want to respect everybody's situation.
Yeah, coming from Mike Aresco, the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference. Mike, I know that you're running around these days doing a lot of different things. Per always, I hope one day you get to put your head on a pillow and relax. But until then, thank you for all the work that you're doing inside of the American Athletic Conference, the tireless work. I don't know if anybody has had to become more creative and do more things than you've had to do in a decade. And you've consistently shown that you respond to adversity with honesty, with integrity, with morals, with values, and with attempting to do things the right way. And I have the utmost respect for you because I've been with you throughout the entire process, and I've been able to watch it, and you've let me candidly get inside a lot of this. So I can't thank you enough for that, for your time, for your energy. And like I said, you deserve a nice pillow and a nice bed somewhere to lay your head on. So I hope you get to do that soon.
Well, first of all, feelings mutual, Dan. We really appreciate all you do and what you've meant to us over the years. And, we really appreciate your success. Also, there's that old saying, no rest for the weary, right? And that's basically the nature of this job, no matter which commissioner you are.
Yeah.
And, again, I always enjoy being on your show, and I could easily spend another hour talking to you. Today is one of those days, it's kind of jammed, but maybe next week when things should ease up a little, the minute you say that, you never know. But the point is, love to be on again, and always enjoy, our chats, and the fact that, it's just great to talk to someone like you who's not only interested in our conference, but very knowledgeable and understands college sports. It's been great. And let's do it again. I appreciate you having me on, Dan, and wish you a good rest of the week.
Yeah, you the same, Mike. So safe in your travels. Thank you for all those kind words. And I look forward to talking with you very soon and hopefully having some good news come out once again. The American always comes out on top with all this realignment. There's always something good around the corner. So I know it's coming, and I look forward to being able to share that news with you soon.
Well, thanks, Dan. It's survive and advance, right? You survive, in our case, survive and thrive. That's our goal, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thanks again, Dan. Have a great
you.
week. Thank you.
Too.